Mr. President, as many of my colleagues know, I've been coming down to the floor every week to do what I consider the favorite part of my duties serving here in the Senate, and that's to talk about somebody special in my great state. And we call that person our Alaskan of the Week. I've been told by some of my colleagues they look forward to it, and I know the pages do, so learn a little bit about Alaska. And we do this, I do this, because I certainly want my constituents to know about so many people in their state, what they're doing, how they're impacting not only their community or the state, but sometimes even the whole country. Now, much of what the country knows about Alaska is what they see on TV: beautiful glaciers, giant salmon, skiing, hiking, kayaking, boating, and we want everybody to come visit Alaska. It'll be the trip of a lifetime, guaranteed. But the real beauty of my state rests in the people who call it home. We are a state of rugged, generous, patriotic people, devoted to service to their country and their state and their communities. And in many ways, Mr. President, that's what this Alaskan of the Week honor is all about. And when we talk about service to our country, Alaska boasts thousands and thousands of active duty members of the military, reservists, thousands of reservists, and tens of thousands of veterans. In fact, more veterans per capita than any state in the country. And so many of those veterans across my state have not just served their country, but have devoted their time and energy in ways that so many veterans do, which is helping and caring for other veterans and their families. Now, many in the military know it's not easy to serve, but what's often forgotten is that service and the sacrifice of service, particularly military service, often hits the families the hardest. And when that service results in the loss of life, in the ultimate sacrifice, it's devastating for the families and friends and loved ones all across communities, all across Alaska, really all across the country. When one of our own loses their life in the fight for freedom, we all grieve. We all grieve. So, Mr. President, today I want to introduce a very special Alaskan, Kirk Alkire, who has devoted countless hours to make sure that those we have lost in battle will never be forgotten, and that the families of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice receive a fitting tribute to their sacrifice. Kirk believes that such a fitting tribute lies in a peak in one of Alaska's vast, beautiful, almost endless mountain ranges that we have in my great state. This is a peak that actually exists in the Chugach Range between Eagle River and Palmer, Alaska, overlooking the Knik River. Kirk has been on a quest to name this peak the Gold Star Peak. It's actually a mountain that's unnamed right now next to another mountain that is named. That mountain's called Mount Powmia. But he wants to name this other mountain for the Gold Star families who have lost loved ones who were killed in action defending America. Now, Kirk is passionate about this peak, just as he was passionate about the men and women he served with during his 23 years in the Army on active duty. So let me tell you a little bit about Kirk. He was born and raised in San Jose, California. He enlisted in the Army right out of high school in 1986. He married his high school sweetheart, Angie, and they had a son, Matthew. During his time on active duty in the Army, like so many soldiers, particularly over the last couple decades, he had various assignments in both airborne and light infantry units spread across the United States, really spread across the world, with deployments all over the world, and eventually he was stationed in Alaska. His final assignment, Mr. President, was as a first sergeant with the Alaska-based 4th Infantry Brigade Combat Team of the 25th Infantry Division, a unit that we lovingly in Alaska know simply as the 425. It's a unit that we all care about, the only airborne brigade combat team in the entire Asia-Pacific, mountain-trained, Arctic tough. I had the opportunity of visiting a couple thousands of those troops right now from the 425 who are actually serving their country in Afghanistan. These are the best of the best, and they're always forward deployed. Kirk and the 425 deployed to Iraq for 15 months during the 2006-2007 surge. Mr. President, Kirk's brigade, during that tough fighting in Iraq during that time, during the surge, one brigade combat team lost 53 paratroopers over that 15 months. 53 American soldiers killed in action from one brigade. That doesn't even touch the numbers who were wounded in action, which was many, many more. That is a devastating number. Devastating. Kirk now lives in Eagle River, Alaska. It's a beautiful, beautiful community in the mountains overlooking Eagle River near Anchorage. And since his return, he has climbed Mount POW, MIA, a few times every year to tend to the flag that exists on that peak. Again, out of patriotism. And it was during one of those hikes that he noticed the beautiful unnamed peak right next to Mount POW, MIA. And then he knew what he needed to do. Mr. President, it's not easy to name a peak, and in Alaska, we have so many mountains that we have dozens and dozens of mountains that are still not named, but it's not easy to name a peak of a mountain. So what did he do? Well, first, he secured support from members of the Eklutna tribe, whose region in Alaska the mountain occupies. So very respectful action towards our very, very important Native community in Alaska. He then took letters of support and a petition with over 1,500 signatures from all 50 states, 4 countries, and 1 U.S. territory to the Alaska Historical Commission. I was one of the signers of that petition. He presented all of this to the National Geological Survey, which was the Department of Interior, all to get this peak, this mountain named for the Gold Star families, the Gold Star Peak. So he worked this hard. He worked this really hard. And today, Mr. President, I have the honor of announcing on the Senate floor that just this morning, the U.S. Board of Geographic Names, which is part of the Department of Interior, which votes to name mountains, unanimously voted and approved to name that mountain in the Chugach mountain range Gold Star Peak. That's great news. And that's hard work. And I am honored to have Kirk sitting up in the gallery today after his hard work where he was working at the Department of Interior this morning. Now, I first met him at a Veterans Day parade in Anchorage, where he told me about his quest to get the mountain peak name. That's where I signed the petition. And then I asked him, I said, Kirk, served your country. Why are you so motivated and focused and determined to do this? And you know what he did, Mr. President? He pulled out 53 dog tags that he had in his pocket with the names of every soldier of the 425 that was lost in Iraq from 2006 to 2007, when he was the first sergeant of that brigade. And I held these in my hand. And it was powerful and moving. And in some ways, so horrible to look at, because these are the lives and names of the best and brightest that we have in America. That's why he did it. That's why he was motivated. So, Mr. President, because of Kirk and the announcement today, families, whether they're from Alaska or anywhere in America who come visit, families who have lost loved ones, who've made the ultimate sacrifice, serving their nation, will now be able to look up at Gold Star Peak as they drive up the busy Glen Highway in Alaska, and they will see that 4,000-foot peak soar into the sky. And they will know, all of America will know, that their loved ones are not forgotten, and the service and sacrifice of the families, Gold Star families, who we honor, is appreciated and honored by a grateful nation. So thank you, Kirk, for all the work you've put into this. Congratulations on the vote today. I can't wait to get home and see Gold Star Peak officially named, and maybe, just maybe, get out there and summit it with you someday. And thank you for being our Alaskan of the Week. I yield the floor.